Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Marketing Monday, Emergency Marketing Monday, here on November 2nd. As I sit here in this ironic FTX hat my wife made for me, I have just 3 words for you. We got him! The most generous billionaire in the world, after a whirlwind, weeks-long trial, has been found guilty. They got him on all 7 counts. Wire fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, conspiracy to commit securities fraud, meaning he's facing a minimum sentence of like 30 years. Sentencing will not take place for a few months. But we know as of now, based on the jury's verdict today, that he is guilty. He has a second trial, I think in March of next year, covering even more crimes than this. But it's safe to say right now, he's going away for a very long time. And so this is a pretty big deal. This is a pretty big moment, mostly for me, who loses the ability to clickbait Sam in my thumbnails from now on. But I want to go through the trial. I want to talk about the last couple days since we've been updating as we go on, because the last few days were a masterclass from the prosecution, a whirlwind, and a hilarious, psychotically bad defense from SBF. And I want to go through them. So these are the last few days of the trial. SBF took the stand. In a white-collar crime trial, it is always advised, generally, that the defendant does not take the stand. But SBF was backed into a corner. And so during the last couple days, the last good thing that may ever happen to him just happened. He got this courtroom sketch. If you're gonna go out looking like a Giga Chad. This is what he looked like on that day, by the way. I don't know if I see it, bro. I think they took some liberties. And it feels a little sexist too, given this is what the courtroom artist did to Caroline Ellison. But the closing statements were probably the best part if you wanted to see justice served. So when the prosecution made their closing arguments from this guy, Nick Roos, Bald King, he stood up and delivered the closing arguments that went something like this. And I want to go through a little bit of what he said. I got some exact quotes here. He said, thousands of people from all over the world put millions of dollars into FTX. Those millions of dollars grew into billions of dollars. And when those regular people tried to withdraw it, it was gone. Where did it go? And then he Phoenix Wright stood up and pointed at SBF and said, this man, Samuel Bankman-Fried, spent the customer's money and lied about it. He used it to bail out bad bets. He used it to repay loans. He used it to buy celebrity endorsements. He used it to buy property for himself, friends, and parents. He used it to make political donations that would benefit himself and FTX. It was a pyramid of deception. He said employees like Caroline Ellison, Gary Wang, Nishad Singh, Adam Yedida, all testified they were aware that the taking customer funds was wrong and that customer funds belong to customers. There is no way SBF, the leader of the company and prime beneficiary of this fraud, was not aware of that. Here's what he asked the jury. He's like, the core question you need to answer is, did the defendant, SBF, know that taking this customer money was wrong? And I think beyond a shadow of a doubt, in his closing arguments, they proved it. I want to rewind a little bit because he talks about this. SBF had taken the stand immediately before this. It was the last thing SBF did, a last-ditch effort, because the testimony from all of his former friends and coworkers and high-up executives at Alameda Research and FTX was damning. Every one of them pleaded guilty to all 7 counts, and they said Sam was aware, and they said they knew it was wrong. So, to be honest, that alone is pretty open and shut. Then they had the paper trail of all of the money being taken out of customer accounts. Then they had his own tweets, saying open lies. But on top of all that, SBF knew he was backed into a corner, so he had to get up and testify. This is him high-fiving the bailiff because he thought he was ready to do a good job. So the way it goes when you're testifying, first, your lawyer will question you. Your lawyer will ask you some questions that you've already prepared together, and then the prosecution will cross-examine you. When SBF's own lawyer was asking him questions, he was Giga Chad. He was perfectly calm. He was rational. He had all of the details ready to go. He had answers ready. It was a lot of unrelated stuff, to be honest. There was a lot of random things, like how he chose the Miami Heat to sponsor, why he dressed the way he did. The second the prosecution's lawyer started to cross-examine him, dude froze up instantly. Instantly froze up, started stuttering, started going off script. I believe he said, I don't remember, 140 times. Example question here. Sam, do you remember buying the CEO of the block a $20 million Bahamas penthouse? I don't remember. He said, I don't remember, I don't recall, 140 times. He spent a lot of time doing weirdly nitpicky responses, trying to define certain words. This is an example, not an exact question, but like, did you have dinner with so-and-so? They don't think it's exact people, but did you have dinner? Well, he'd say like, what do you mean by dinner? He was saying all these stupid nitpicky things that got the judge frustrated and the jury frustrated. And again, the general gist of it was that it was an accident. Everything that happened was an accident. Like he didn't fully understand what's going on. He was given bad advice by people around him. He had no idea, even though he's the prime beneficiary of all this fraud, he had no idea. This is a pattern that happened over and over during his testimony where they would say, do you recall saying X? And then he would go, no, I don't recall that at all. And they said, does this jog your memory? And then they'd put up an actual picture of one of his tweets. Like saying FTX has enough to cover all client holdings. We don't invest client assets, even though that's exactly what they did. And then he would go, yep. He said yep a lot. Does this jog your memory? And he would look at it and go, yep. And then no refer. Which is, I hate to tell you, I'm no lawyer, feels like a bad defense. He was openly and easily provably lying, which draws back to the conspiracy, which draws back to the wire fraud, which draws back to the core prosecution's case that he was not oopsieing his way through this. He was well aware that what he was doing was wrong and was trying to get away with it. Let me tell you something. When you do that bad on the stand, it pisses off your own lawyers. There was multiple accounts from the courtroom that his own lawyers looked frustrated with him. They were like wishing he didn't take the stand because he was undoing the little progress they had made in their own arguments. Did a quick summary of SBF's testimony today. I think that went well, SBF's lawyers. I mean, he just came off as somebody who was very clearly being evasive. And in fact, during the closing statements by Nicholas Roos, he called him out on it. He said, I believe SBF lied under oath during his testimony about things small and large. Again, all looks bad. This all slam dunk. He said he created a story that completely and conveniently excluded himself from the fraud. It was everyone else around him, but not him. To believe his story, you would have to ignore all of the evidence, all of the financial statements, all of the testimony from friends and business associates, and his own public statements. So at the end of the day, SBF, after all of that, in a deliberation that lasted only 3 hours, the jury took 3 hours from that closing argument to say guilty on all 7 counts. The saga of Sam Bankman-Fried is now over. This man's going to jail and will serve some punishment for his crime. But I want to talk about something else because, you know, this is all funny. I'm making a lot of jokes. This is fun. We're turning this into entertainment. But at the end of the day, a lot of real people lost important savings in their real life in this collapse. This is William, a construction site manager from California. He's 40 years old. He put $85K in, thinking it was something he could trust. Lost it. That's money that's going to fuck him over for the rest of his life. I mean, that loses your ability to move. That loses your ability to start a family. I was stressed. I couldn't sleep. This is Jamie, who says it'll take him about 20 years to save the amount he lost in the FTX collapse. This is lives changed dramatically because they believed things like this. Jim Cramer, SBF is the new JP Morgan. This is FTX sponsorship of Formula One. This is FTX sponsorship of Tom Brady. These things seem small, and I don't think these guys are nearly as guilty. Again, they took the bag. But when they use their reputation in exchange for money, they convince average people that look up to them to throw away life savings on things that are not. They're 1,000 times riskier than they imply. YouTubers. All of these YouTubers sponsored by FTX. I'm not picking on one in particular, but this clip is crazy.
More important than ever to use a reputable exchange who gives the best pricing and has a wide range of products and services to choose from. That's why I'm really proud to stand behind today's sponsor, FTX.
If you say you're gonna proud to stand behind, then you're putting the trust your audience has put into you on something that did lose them money. Lost them a lot of money. Look, there's a lot to say about this, but in an era where white-collar crime is on the rise, I think we can all feel that, as Patrick Boyle put it in his excellent new video, we're kind of in a golden age of fraud that started around the time of the pandemic. And it feels like every day there is new schemes and scams to try and separate people from the money they worked hard to earn. So to me, the silver lining or the nice part of this is that in an era where everyone feels a little, I don't know, depressed about this stage of constant attempts to scam you out of your money. Again, a lot of people, these people included as examples, thought there was zero chance SBF would ever get investigated or jailed. Elon Musk tweeted SBF was a major dim donor, so there will be no investigation. It's nice for me at least, a small silver lining in this crazy age of fraud, that one guy who stole billions from regular people and thought for sure his political connections, his parental connections, his celebrity connections, and his money would allow him to insulate himself from that, actually is going to serve some time in jail. To me, that's a cool moment. Again, it's a very small step of a very large hill we have to climb as a society to stop these people from thinking they can take average people's money all the time. But it's cool. On this day, right now, I'm happy. I'm happy that something happened, that the people involved in the prosecution did not just a good job, but an excellent job of making the case obvious for all to see that this dude fucked people over and took money and is guilty. So that's cool. And I'm happy to see it. And I hope you are too. And we'll follow up more on next Marketing Monday, but thanks for watching. Wait till he's sentenced? Yeah, I guess. I guess wait till he's sentenced, because if they give him fucking 2 weeks, I'm going to be super pissed.